Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Get Your Shift Together, How Mobile Scheduling Increases Efficiency, Productivity, and Engagement. My name is Ryan Glushkoff, Director of Product Marketing here at PeopleMatter, and I'll be acting as your moderator today. We welcome your questions throughout the session. To submit a question, simply type it into the question window on the GoToWebinar control panel and hit Submit. We'll be answering as many of these questions as possible during the Q&A period that follows the main presentation. But please feel free to send us your questions in at any time, and we will add them to the queue. Please also be aware that today's session is being recorded and will be available on the PeopleMatter website within the next week. You will be notified by email when the recording of this event is available. And now that we've got those housekeeping items out of the way, it gives me great pleasure to introduce today's speakers. Matt Flynn, Director of Operations at St. Joe Petroleum, and Nancy Sansom, Vice President of Marketing here at PeopleMatter. Matt Flynn is the Director of Retail Operations at St. Joe Petroleum, a Midwestern full-service distributor and forward-thinking retailer. He's responsible for all fast gas and fresh fare operations. Under his leadership, the C-Store purchased PeopleMatter in July 2011, which has led to an increase in productivity, retention, and operational efficiency. Nancy Sansom leads PeopleMatter's creative marketing team and is responsible for demand generation, product marketing, branding, communications, and partnerships. With more than 15 years of experience leading product management and marketing departments in the SaaS industry, Nancy continues to drive success and innovation at PeopleMatter. Now with that, I'd like to turn the program over to Nancy Sansom. Nancy, the floor is yours.
All right, thanks. Well, hello everyone. There are three parts to our presentation today. So first, we're going to begin by reviewing industry trends related to scheduling based upon a recent report from the PeopleMatter Institute. And then we're going to hear from Matt Flynn as he discusses how St. Joe Petroleum has put technology to work for scheduling of their employees. And then lastly, we'll be doing several demonstrations. We're going to show online scheduling via the web, a mobile app, and also the phone. So let's get started. So we're going to begin today by sharing a few highlights from the PeopleMatter Institute's Ultimate Guide to How Hourly Workforces Work. That's really hard to say. The PeopleMatter Institute provides research and educational resources to help businesses and individuals understand, manage, and motivate their most important asset, their people. The PeopleMatter Institute puts this guide together that you see here, which is available on our website, based upon a survey of service industry businesses, both large and small. In this year's survey, we had 895 service industry professionals from both the HR side and operations respond to the survey. So let's take a look at the results. So the survey found that few companies are taking advantage of the technology that's available today for creating and managing schedules. So for creating schedules, 76% of small companies are creating schedules manually, and 38% of large companies are creating schedules manually. Our survey found that with large companies, there's a pretty heavy reliance on consultants during the actual schedule creation process. So many companies are using outside companies to help them actually create the schedules. And then for managing schedules, our survey found that 67% of small businesses and 58% of large businesses are still creating schedules manually. The PeopleMatter Institute also found that 2/3 of companies are still relying on printing out their schedules. And what we found that was interesting is that 2/3 of businesses that have more than 100% turnover think that their scheduling practices are convenient for employees, even though many of them are still using paper. But this is not what we hear from employees. So employees really value convenience and flexibility as it relates to their schedules. It's one of the most important things to them. So what we have on the presentation here are three quotes from employees of our customers who are talking about the trouble with paper schedules. So employees don't want to have to call in and beg someone to run to the back and check the schedule and then tell them if they are working. And then if they take little notes, they oftentimes misplace those notes. And when they get their printed schedule, as we all know, it's out of date pretty much as soon as it's printed, since schedules are so likely to change frequently. So along these lines, I wanted to share something with you guys. I was doing some online research a couple months ago, and I was looking on YouTube for a particular company. And I came across a video of an employee at a yogurt shop who went on this rant about her job, her company, and her manager. And she said many things, but her biggest complaint was related to how scheduling was handled and how her manager had specifically handled her request to attend her senior prom. And of course, as a marketing person, you know, I think it's a bad idea. You know, I wouldn't post anything negative about my company online, and you know, that's a marketing person's nightmare, one of the challenges we have today. But watching this video, which was longer than 10 minutes, really opened my eyes to how important convenience and flexibility is to the hourly workforce as it relates to their schedules. So it was really eye-opening for me to see that. So what is so hard about scheduling? So the people who took the survey said that it's not really publishing the schedule itself that's hard, but it's all these other things you see here on the right. So the survey respondents had to indicate how hard or easy all of these different things were. And they said that they said it is not easy to account for availability, preferences, managing changes and swaps, communicating all those changes on an ongoing basis, not easy to comply with government regulations, and control overtime. And so one thing we wanted to mention is that we don't think these challenges are going to get any easier. We think they're actually going to get a lot harder. Because as companies increase the number of part-time workers that they have as a percentage of their total workforce, a lot of these things here on the list get more complicated. So in 2014, as we all know, many companies may be increasing the number of part-time workers that they use when the rule becomes effective that you need to provide benefits for employees who work more than 30 hours a week. So having more part-time workers will increase schedule complexity because there will be more workers to schedule. But in addition, you're also going to be dealing with some additional factors because part-time employees are going to be likely to have more than one job, so their availability is going to get more complex. And also, they're going to be more likely to swap and want to trade shifts and call off at the last minute when they get an offer to work at their other job, which might pay just a little bit more. So these challenges aren't really going anywhere, and they're probably going to get a lot more complex. So how can we make this process easier? Well, we can put many of the tasks for ongoing schedule management into the hands of your employees, literally. So 94% of Americans between the ages of 18 and 44 own a mobile device, and half of them own a smartphone. So what we've been thinking at PeopleMatter is why not leverage the technology that employees already have to allow them to see their schedule, request changes, submit time off, and accept an offer to work. So later in the webinar, we'll show you how employees can complete all of those tasks with the PeopleMatter app. So one final comment on the survey before we move on to our case study with St. Joe Petroleum. The service companies that are using an online system for scheduling reported that they have a much easier time coordinating availability and preferences, managing changes and requests, and then communicating them to their workforce. So hence the name of our webinar today, Get Your Shift Together. There's really no reason that companies shouldn't be able to automate the processes around creating and managing their schedules. And so this presents a great opportunity for many companies in our industry. So let's take a look at a case study from the world of convenience retailing. So St. Joe Petroleum has been using the PeopleMatter platform since 2011 to manage their hiring and onboarding processes online. And more recently, they added online scheduling. So Matt, we would love it if you would tell us a little bit about St. Joe Petroleum and your experience with online scheduling.
Thanks, Nancy. As Ryan mentioned at the beginning, my name is Matt Flynn. I'm the Director of Retail Operations for St. Joe Petroleum Company. We're a full-service petroleum distributor and fueling retailer serving the Northwest Missouri and Northeastern Kansas area. We operate 8 fast gas locations in the St. Joseph, Missouri metro area under both the Conoco and BP fueling brands. As a family-owned company for over 40 years, we have always taken pride in putting our employees first. We're honored to have more than 80 full-time employees on our team, and we reward them with competitive wages, a matching 401k, and profit-sharing programs. The one thing that St. Joe Petroleum does not have is a full-time human resources position. As I'm sure many of you can relate with us, being small, we like to do less. We like to do more with less. It can be frustrating, but when you're able to find a system that is both cost-effective and empowers your team, it can be one of the best rewards for them. We're excited to be taking advantage of the PeopleMatter platform and more specifically the schedule module. So let me tell you more about it. Before using the PeopleMatter system, our 8 fast gas locations tried multiple different options to schedule with their teams. From paper and pen to Excel files, both were extremely time-consuming. When we began looking for a solution and actually asked our team about their problems, we found that time was not only part of the problem. Here were some of the biggest issues we learned from our team. We had multiple locations that were sharing employees, and this is a great way to reduce overtime and provide your employees with the hours that they need, but can also be a pain when you have to call other locations to see when or if a team member you want is working. Our managers could not calculate employee cost effectively. We all want our managers to have as much information as possible. In scheduling, that usually means just giving them a set amount of hours, but being able to give them a dollar budget gives them the decisions to see how they really affect the bottom line. Our team members often would forget their schedule, causing either late arrivals or just, calls to the store or just have somebody run to the back and check their schedule. We also had no way to check for time off or schedule from the corporate office. We were unable to see if our managers were posting their schedules on time, doing the right thing for our team. And even more of a concern, we had no way to track overtime before it was used, something that could get expensive very quickly. After looking at different applicant tracking systems, we decided that PeopleMatter was the only system designed specifically for the service industry, and it fit us perfectly. Here's a few reasons why. Providing a single sign-on for our hiring and managing of employees, as well as scheduling, we save manager time from redundantly entering new hire information, giving managers time to complete tasks that build our business. By giving employees a mobile app to view their schedule and ask for time off, and even trade shifts with another employee, and also by allowing our corporate office to accurately view and track both schedule and hiring related items. With multiple locations sharing employees, we are now able to see our team to the best of their ability, used to the best of their abilities, proving the hours they need and a reduction in the overtime hours that we as a company require. And finally, something that we at St. Joseph Petroleum just recently began using to help any employee who's unable to access their schedule from a computer or smartphone, we use D, a personal assistant that has been great, and our employees are excited to use the interactive phone system to do all of the items that they could do on the computer or over the phone. And we'll see a little bit of that later. Initially, when we launched the schedule module, we selected 2 of our locations to promote the system and create best practices for our company. By showing our teams the mobile app and online access, we created excitement and buy-in. And best of all, our team was comfortable with contacting the PeopleMatter support team for assistance and guidance through the transition, something that our internal IT team was very excited about. Now, for all of those that like to see the raw numbers, here we go. We at St. Joe Petroleum have seen a 13% reduction in overtime due to more efficient scheduling of our teams. By using a copy feature, our managers are able to quickly schedule our teams while giving them more of a set routine schedule. The schedule system calculates total employee cost, giving our front-end managers information quickly to make good business decisions. And most of all, we've been able to provide our team with their schedules 8 days faster by reducing the burden of managers to fill out a new schedule completely every week. And finally, with PeopleMatter, we've been thrilled with the consistent system upgrades that are taken directly from what their customers ask for, what their wants, needs, and desires are, all without additional cost to the company. Being proactive with our scheduling audits and reducing manager time on scheduling has all led to a higher employee satisfaction. Now, enough with the numbers. I'm excited for Nancy to show you how this fantastic system works. Nancy?
Okay, thank you so much, Matt. Great to hear more about St. Joe Petroleum and learn about how you guys have been so successful with using technology. And St. Joe has been an awesome company for us to work with over the past few years, and we've been able to achieve great things together. Thank you again, Matt. So I wanted to tell you a little bit more about the actual software before we dive into the demo. So PeopleMatter Schedule provides the company with the technology to build schedules, share schedules, and control their schedules. So when building schedules, we found that our customers need a lot of flexibility. I think it's safe to say that all of our customers have unique considerations when building their schedules. So we offer several options for your schedule. We provide the ability to create and publish schedules for everyone at the same time or just for individual departments. And we allow you to offer house shifts to your employees for shifts that you don't want to assign right out of the gate. And we also allow you to see when employees are working at another location, which is something that Matt had mentioned, or when they separate from the company, you can see that and you're alerted to that so that you can make adjustments to future schedules where those particular individuals might have already been on the schedule. So when publishing schedules and sharing schedule information, you'll see that PeopleMatter provides numerous options for communicating with team members via phone, the web, and mobile devices. And when controlling and monitoring schedules, PeopleMatter provides the tools you need to manage shift premiums, blackout dates, and even assign tasks to specific individual and shift. You can also run reports to see who is approaching overtime based upon actual hours worked, which of course we would be feeding into PeopleMatter from your time and attendance system. So we're going to actually do three demos today. We're going to show how a manager can edit a schedule. We're going to show how a team member can then view a schedule on the web and then within the PeopleMatter app. And then finally, we'll show D, which Matt mentioned at St. Joe Petroleum. They just started using D. We're going to show D, the digital voice assistant, which works very much like Apple's Siri, and we're going to show how an employee would call D to handle scheduling-related tasks. So let's start on the web. I'm going to switch over to the demo. Just a moment. I'm going to be logging in as a manager to PeopleMatter. Here we go. Hang on a second. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to be logging in as a manager to a company called Interstate Grill. And when I log in, you're going to see, so this is my home tab. This is what a manager would see. And I can see right away that I have some tasks and sort of notifications here on the left. And I can also see a news feed, kind of like your Facebook news feed that you all use. I have my profile over here, and I can, as a manager, create action items for my team members. So PeopleMatter has technology for hiring, learning, and scheduling. Today we're going to focus on scheduling. So let me jump in to the Schedule tab. So when I come into Schedule, this is kind of my dashboard as a manager. I can see all the locations that I have access to. I may not have access to all of the company's locations. And then I also have a little dashboard here which shows me shift offer requests that I might want to approve or time off requests. And I also have a tool that will help me manage the availability of my employees. So let me jump into the King Street location. And what it does right away is it takes me to this week's schedule. So here we are on the 13th. And I can just see the schedule. I'm looking at a week-long view. I can see the various team members that are assigned to the schedule and what time. Now, I might want to just see certain team members or departments, and I could also, so I could filter the schedule and only see cashiers or supervisors or something like that. The other thing I can do is look at the schedule in a day view or in a weekly view, either way. Another thing I wanted to mention is I can see the total weekly cost and hours of everyone that's currently on the schedule. Well, let's go into next week's schedule. So I just use these arrows to proceed to next week. And when I look at next week's schedule, I realize I have a couple of issues. The first person on the list, Nate Adams, he's working 42 hours, and so he's turned red so that I can, it alerts me that I need to deal with that. if I don't want him working overtime, which I don't in this case. I also see a little message here that Larry Dean has a pending time off request, yet I have him scheduled. So I need to address that. And then as I scroll down, I see that we have a separated employee or team member, and they had already been put on the schedule, so I need to go ahead and take them off. So what I do when I want to make changes is I go into Manage Schedule. So in this case, we're working with a schedule that's already created, just in the interest of time today. But I just wanted to mention that a schedule can be created from a number of different ways. You can create them from scratch. You can copy old schedules. You can create a schedule also from what we call a demand plan template. But today I'm just going to make some changes and show you how that works. So now I'm in a manage mode, and I can remove Nate for Friday just by clicking that X. So now you'll see that he's no longer pink. And then here for Larry, if I don't really need Larry to work Saturday, maybe I'm going to make someone else work, and I'm going to ultimately approve his time off request. I can just delete his shift. And then I'll come down here for this team member that's been separated. I'm just going to go ahead and remove that. And then thankfully I have some new hires that have come through in the system. And so I have Toby here, and I can go ahead and add a shift for Toby to make up for Nate, who I removed from the calendar. And one thing you'll notice is that there's different roles within the schedule. So I can be qualified to serve in several different roles or not. Another team member might only be able to work as one particular role. And that logic is really important once we get into trading shifts and that kind of thing. Okay, so let's say I've made all the changes that I want to make. When I hit publish, if I had any conflicts, it would come up and notify me, but I didn't. I had resolved those conflicts. So it tells me that the schedule's been published up here and that the team members will be notified. So we're going to look at how they're notified in just a couple minutes. And of course, you see the copy function up here, and there's a lot more, but what I'm going to do is go over to the employee view. So let's say I'm an employee named Josh Farmer, and I'm going to log in and look at just my schedule. So I'm an employee with the same company. I'm scheduled for this week for 38 hours. I can click over to next week using the arrows. When I click on a particular shift, I can see who else is working with me for that shift. I can see what my role is. I would also see any tasks for that shift if I had tasks assigned to me. And then if I wanted to offer up this shift to someone else, I could simply do that here. The other thing I can do is use this calendar to jump forward. Maybe I want to check my schedule around New Year's Eve and see if my time off got approved, which it did in this case. We also have this time off requests page that I can come in and kind of see all the time off requests that I have submitted, whether they've been approved or pending. So I can see here that I have 2 approved and 1 pending. So far we've looked at how a manager would manage a schedule on the web and also how an employee could view their schedule on the web. Let's take a look at how an employee would view this on an iPhone with an app. So you should see here a picture of the iPhone, and right here on the iPhone is the PeopleMatter app, and it actually has a little notification there, meaning, hey, something's going on. You either have a message or a notification. And so the first thing that I can see when I come into the app is my schedule. And just like on the web, it defaulted to my schedule from the current week. The way I navigate through the app is across the bottom. So I have the schedule, I have messages, I have time off requests, and I have notifications. And you should see the screen changing as I'm hitting each of these options along the bottom. Let me start by submitting a time off request. Let me submit a time off request for sometime in January. So I'll hit done. I can type in a message to my manager. And then, of course, we always notify the team member that everything has to be approved by the manager. And so I can either add another request or I can indicate, hey, I've got it. Let's take a look at the schedule in a little bit more detail. So on the schedule, I can scroll through and look at however many weeks into the future have been published. So I would only see as far as my manager has published. This particular shift here that's gray, there's a little note there that says it's available. So that's a shift that I could pick up. And the system knows what my role is, and so it's only going to show me shifts that are available for my role. I can select a particular shift and get more information on it, so I can see who else is working with me. And I could offer this shift to someone else. So you see this little paper airplane icon in the corner. I can click on that, and I can say to my manager and to my fellow teammates, hey, I've had a change in plans. I can send this, and then again we'll get a message that says, hey, this has to be approved, and we get this message that now shows me, okay, I'm still scheduled to work, but I have a shift offer pending. Oh, the last thing I wanted to show you is just another way to sort of navigate through the schedule is through these little cards across the bottom. So I can scroll this way to take a look at a particular date as well. So I can take a look at the Christmas schedule and scroll through there. So let's go back to notifications and see if I have any new notifications. I do, because I had submitted that time off request and my manager just approved it. So now if I come into time off, I see that the request I put in just a moment ago has been approved. And that's how the notification works. So anytime there's a schedule change that's relevant to me, I will see it here, or anytime something relevant to me has been approved or denied, I would see it here. And then the messages, this is just the same as the news feed that we saw when we were looking at the web demo. So I can get sort of informational announcements and that kind of thing from my manager. All right, so that is the way that the app works. Let's go back into the presentation. And so we've looked at the web, we've looked at the app, and lastly, we're going to look at D. So D is a way to use the phone to request schedule information and do changes. So this is particularly important for employees that don't have access to a smartphone, but it's also handy for people who just prefer making a phone call rather than using an app because it can be done hands-free. So for me personally, I've grown really accustomed to using Siri when I'm driving to complete tasks. So D could do that same thing for people who, like me, are very concerned with efficiency, or for people who would just rather make a phone call. So the idea is just to provide lots of different options for your team members. So how does D work? Well, your team members can simply call 1-800-SPEAK-TO-D to get schedule information and other important updates. So what we want to do is let you listen in to see how D would welcome team members when they call. So let's go ahead and take a listen.
That's the one. Let me pull up your info. Hi, James. I'm Dee. I'm here to help you with information about your work schedule. I can answer questions like, when do I work this week? What time do I work on Friday? Do I work next weekend? And are there any shifts available? You can also say things like, I need vacation on July 4th. I can't work on Tuesday, or cancel my time off request on December 1st.
So you can see how Dee orients team members and gives them suggestions for what to say. Essentially, she is training them on the fly as far as how to talk and interact with her. So let's listen to some examples of real employees calling in and asking questions to Dee.
When do I work next week?
Next week you're working Monday, July 23rd, from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Tuesday, July 24th, from 7:45 a.m. to 1:45 p.m. and Saturday, July 28th, from 7:45 a.m. to 1:45 p.m.
What position do I work next Friday?
They'll be expecting you Friday July 27th, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. as customer service rep.
I can't work on October 1st.
You're not working Monday, October 1st. Do you want me to submit a request for time for Monday, October 1st?
Sure.
Okay, I've requested your time off for Monday, October 1st. Now the ball's in your manager's court.
Thanks.
That's why I'm here.
So Dee is pretty friendly to work with. Calls to Dee typically last between 2 and 3 minutes. The most common question that people are asking is just, when do I work next? We have had calls last as long as 6 minutes, but those are pretty rare. The last thing I wanted to mention that Dee can do is she can be used for communicating with your team members, for announcements, reminders, new schedule notifications or updates, and shifts that are now available, or time off requests that have now been approved. So essentially everything can be included on Dee that you saw in that news feed on the web, and that you also saw in the messages and notifications area in the PeopleMatter app. So let's take a listen to one final example that shows off the communication feature.
Your manager, Kay Lucas, has posted the following message. We have a team meeting on Thursday. Please plan to attend. There was an update to the schedule for the week beginning July 22nd. Great news! Your manager gave the thumbs up to your time off request for Monday, August 6, 2012. A new shift is available to pick up. What's on the agenda today?
So that concludes the demo today. So we saw how managers and employees can manage schedules on the web, how your mobile workforce can use the PeopleMatter app, or Dee, to access and manage schedules on the go. So today we focused on scheduling primarily, but PeopleMatter also provides online hiring and learning technology. PeopleMatter customers can use Hire, Learn, and Schedule all together as a platform, or they can just use one or two of the modules. Regardless, it's all part of the PeopleMatter platform, and it's all designed for the service industry. So you can see examples here of some of the companies that we serve in the food service, retail, and hospitality industries, such as Ruby Tuesday, Thornton's, Applebee's, and Saunders Hotel Group. Like St. Joe Petroleum, our customers are able to quantify their return on investment. So with St. Joe, they saw a reduction in scheduled overtime, and they were able to provide their employees with schedules 8 days earlier. Other examples of quantifiable ROI are shown here. So our customers often see a reduction in team member turnover, a decrease in time to hire, and a reduction in manager time spent on hiring and creating courses and just managing new hire paperwork. So at this time, we'd like to take your questions. If you haven't submitted a question yet, it's not too late to create one. Just use the questions area on your GoToWebinar panel. And Ryan, we're ready. Matt and I are ready. Go ahead and hit us with some questions.
All right. Thanks, Nancy. That was a great look at trends in online scheduling. And Matt, it's always so great to hear directly from a customer who's just living success with PeopleMatter. You know, that's just great. So thank you both. So Matt, we actually have the first question is for you. And it's actually, what has been the reaction of Fast Gas employees to PeopleMatter?
Well, thanks, Ryan. Our overall reaction of our employees to PeopleMatter has been an excitement. They really feel that they've been empowered to see their schedule, see the documents that they've signed from when they did come to be hired, to switch shifts with employees. We see with things like Dee and a mobile app, they use it to kind of boast to their friends about what their employer is doing, and that's something that as a company, we always like to be the source of pride for someone instead of the source of a bad day.
Great. Okay. And the second question, actually this one is for you, Nancy. Nancy, so do employees, it's actually related to the app, and there's a couple questions on this, so I'll just combine it all into one for you. But do employees pay to download the apps, and on which devices are the apps built for? As you know, there's different types of smartphones out there, so they'd like to know which devices our apps work for.
Okay, great. So it is free to download the app, so there's no fee for your employees to do that, and there's no extra fee for companies either who want to use the app. So it all just comes with PeopleMatter schedule. The app is available in Apple's App Store and iTunes, and also in the Google Marketplace, so Androids are supported. So if you have an iPhone or an Android, you can use the PeopleMatter app.
Awesome. Okay. And another one for you, I guess it's actually for either Matt or Nancy. Do the managers who are not computer literate, is it easy for them to use? I think that's a question more related to, I guess, just demographics of the service industry. Is this, how easy is the software to use? And I guess, Matt, it would be great if you could chime in, since you're the customer after all.
No, that'd be great. As a small company, I would say that we have managers they're not hiring managers. Generally, they're people that have moved up in the service industry. So it's not somebody that's used programs. My managers in general find it easier to use than the Excel system that we used to use for doing creating schedules. It walks you through the process on how to do things. When they have had questions, my managers really have enjoyed being able to use the PeopleMatter support team, who they can do live demos where they help control their computer and show them what they need to do, all the way to just kind of walking them through or answering questions. So managers who don't use computers for extra things day in and day out, the system is set up so easy and so just user-friendly. Most of my managers have said, hey, this is easier to use than our back office software that we have them use every day. So really, implementation and training, PeopleMatter takes care of that so well that it's not really an issue.
Okay, great. And Nancy, another one, and this one's, I think, more suitable for you to answer, and the question is related to PeopleMatter. All of the different modules you showed, a couple different modules on the screen, hire, learn, and schedule. And we've got a question is, do you have to purchase all of the modules altogether, or can you purchase them individually and a la carte?
Okay, great question. So you can purchase schedule on its own. You can also purchase hire on its own. And then learn is something that you would use in conjunction with hire or schedule. So learn is the only one that you can't purchase on your own as of yet. But both hire and schedule can be used independently or together. Great.
And we have a couple detailed questions actually for you, Nancy, around system features. So the first one is, will the system prevent you from scheduling split shifts or 7 days in 1 week?
So a company can use what we call our rules and preferences feature to control split shifts or how many days in a row someone might want to work. So that's something that we can handle with a feature that I didn't really go into a lot of detail with today, but we can certainly follow up with anybody on that after the webinar and talk about it in more detail.
Okay, great. And Matt, we're going to go back to you. And the question is, Matt, do you use other features of PeopleMatter other than schedule? And if so, could you please comment?
Yes, we actually, the main product that we use is hire. We have 8 separate locations, and a big reason that we went to looking at an applicant tracking system is with 8 locations, all of our stores are within 10 miles of each other. So what would happen is we may have one store that got a lot of good applications and one store that did not, and sharing of applications was very hard. When we started using PeopleMatter, we've seen a great increase in the number of applications that we take in, and all of our stores can share and access those among others. Another feature that PeopleMatter uses is we have a personality assessment that kind of helps us access. Why we have the PeopleMatter system to onboard, which means how do we get their documents, how do we complete I-9s and E-Verify. The system automates all of that for our managers, and we can track that from the office to make sure that we're getting 100% on-time compliance instead of having different features. So our main purchase to PeopleMatter was the hire module. After we had the hire for almost a year, we looked and saw the schedule platform and really said, hire is working this well for us. What else can they provide that's really going to help us out?
All right, great. Thanks, Matt. And Nancy, we have another one for you. And the question is, we keep our employee information, address, etc., in another database system. And the question is PeopleMatter compatible with those other systems to transfer information to and from?
Yes, absolutely. So we frequently will integrate with HR and payroll systems as an example, also time and attendance or POS systems for basic employee or team member information. So if someone's hired in PeopleMatter, we want that information to go over to whichever of your systems it makes sense for them to go over to. And so that's a pretty straightforward integration with just information about the employees, their demographics, hire date, that kind of thing. And then we do other kinds of integration as well. So when we have the schedule created and published, we can send that schedule information over to a time and attendance system, and then we can take actuals back from the time and attendance system as well. So there's lots of different types of integration.
Great. And another question for you, Nancy, related to product features as well. The question is, can we set an approval by management when shifts are swapped or offered by an employee who wants to give up a shift?
Yes. So generally our assumption is that everything is approved. That's sort of our starting point. So we didn't actually show the approval feature today, but we can certainly show that later. So any sort of shift change, vacation request, anything like that, all of that would be approved by the appropriate manager who has access to that location.
Okay. And one more for you. They're coming in fast and furious on the product. And the question is, how do you handle scheduling employees based on job experience or competence? Or I guess in other words, how do you give preference to one employee over another?
Oh, that's a great question. We're getting great questions today.
I know.
That's awesome. Okay, so we use something we call levels to do that. And so let's say you have different cashiers with different levels of experience. So, for simplicity, we'll say, cashier level 1, level 2, level 3. And what we'll do is we'll organize those people in that way for you as you're adding them to shifts. And so that would allow you to do something like have someone who's level 3, which is the most experienced, make sure there's always someone on the floor of that level when you have maybe the more junior people on there. So you could do that with different roles. And you can actually create however many levels you want, and you can name them however you want. So some people might have, their own terminology for that type of thing for each position, and that's fine. So that's something that you can actually set up yourself in our settings area, which isn't something I went into detail on today, but it's kind of a neat way to organize people for giving preference and priority during scheduling.
Okay. And we have a question actually here related to shift demand for each location, and how do we handle that in PeopleMatter?
So we have a customer success team that works with our clients to, I said earlier that everyone's demand planning is a little bit different, and the way they do their schedules and their logic is a little different. So when we get engaged with a customer, the first thing we do is look at how you're scheduling and what are the rules that you have. And so we can put together a schedule demand plan that actually captures in 15-minute increments based upon your business demands how many team members for each position should be scheduled for each position and level. Great question. Great.
And Matt, another one for you. And this is definitely not for us at PeopleMatter. We want to stay objective. But the question is, what does PeopleMatter like to deal with, particularly related on the implementation and also just as issues come up when calling support?
Okay. Well, PeopleMatter has really been very well on support. I would say about a year ago they overhauled their support mechanism, and it's been fantastic. When calling PeopleMatter support, I'm able to get a tracking email, a tracking ticket with follow-up information. They will follow up with me same day and are very good about staying to timelines and giving timelines of when something will be corrected. The same thing with my stores. The stores are able to look and see a problem, and PeopleMatter support can either, if they can't duplicate the problem, they'll send it to engineering to really try and find the bottom of the problem and not fix it right then, but fix it for the long term. So support is really easy to deal with. They are, you talk to a live person here very quickly. You're not put on hold. So support is far better than any of the other services we use.
Okay, great. Thanks, Matt. And this will be the last question. So this one's for Nancy. And Nancy, if an employee has set availability, would a manager get an alert if they schedule that individual for a not available shift?
Okay, great question. So yes, the manager would be alerted. We consider that a soft rule though, so it would alert the manager both right there visually on the screen and when she goes to publish the schedule, but the manager could override that availability preference and she could still schedule that shift, so that would be something that the manager can do as an override, but she would be notified multiple times before she does that, so she would know that that's what was happening. Good question.
Well, great. Thanks, Nancy. So that does conclude today's webinar. There were a couple questions that have come in kind of late breaking that we didn't get to, but we will follow up with each person individually who asked those questions and make sure we get those questions answered. As I did mention at the beginning, we have been recording the webinar, and a copy of that recording will be made available on the PeopleMatter website within the next week, and we will email you with that location and when it is available. So before we sign off here from Charleston, South Carolina, I would like to thank our speakers, Matt Flynn of St. Joe Petroleum and Nancy Sansom of PeopleMatter. And on behalf of all of us here at PeopleMatter, thank you for attending. Have a great rest of your week and happy holidays.